Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WGS-TV. I am Billy Boudreaux. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest on the line right now. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the voice, the play-by-play voice of the New Orleans Saints radio network. Please welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Mr. Jim Henderson. Mr. Henderson, thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Billy, thank you very much, but you got to call me Jim. I'm not that much older than you.
Well, okay, Jim, I wonder if you can give us your thoughts about the New Orleans Saints and the NFL season as it stands right now, sir.
Well, that's a pretty broad category. I think the NFL season has been surprising in that how much parity there is, especially in the NFC. No super team has emerged. The AFC certainly looks to be the stronger conference as the season nears its halfway mark. As far as the Saints go, probably disappointing in a number of ways, but also not unexpected when you see how difficult it is to defend successfully a Super Bowl championship, and all the things that conspired to make that a dream season are not conspiring this year. So with a long way to go, the Saints are very much in it. Their record is only one game worse in the loss column than the best team in the NFC. So there's much football to be played, but I think from the Saints fan standpoint, you regret the fact that they've just gone through a pretty weak portion of their schedule with losses to Arizona and Cleveland. During that time, games that were certainly winnable with inexperienced quarterbacks at the helm.
Now, Jim, in the last game against Cleveland, there was an unfortunate accident on the sideline when it was during a punt when Courtney Roby was pushed off out of bounds and unfortunately collided with a member of the chain gang. Has there been any updates, any reports as to the well-being of this person?
Mostly anybody who's contacted him, that's been mostly the people with the newspaper, have contacted his son, and nothing much seems to have changed, which is both good and bad. He's in stable condition with an enclosed head injury is what they're calling it. I would guess it's probably a very severe concussion, if nothing worse, and he remains in the hospital, though he's visited with Courtney Roby, and hopefully he's on the road to recovery. That was one of the scarier things I've ever witnessed in the Superdome, and one of the things Sean Payton talked about on Monday in the aftermath of it was the possibility of these people wearing helmets on the sideline, and I certainly don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, I have to say, too, that was one of the most scariest things I've ever seen. I mean, the only other thing I've seen scarier than that was back around 2000, and Eric Gulliford was on the team, and he collided with like two members of the defense. I can't remember what game it was, but it was like helmet to helmet, and he was like unconscious for quite some time. And my last question to you, sir, Jim, is this whole new rule when it comes to helmet-to-helmet contact in the NFL, and I know it's coming under quite some controversy, especially this year in the NFL. What are your thoughts about this whole new rule when it comes to helmet-to-helmet contact in the NFL?
Well, the NFL will tell you that this rule has been on the books. It's just a matter of enforcing it and interpreting it perhaps more stringently than had been in the past. And I'm in favor of it. And certainly the violence is a big part of the game and one of its attractive aspects, but I don't want to see people maimed. I want to see people play as long and as healthily as they can. And I think it's a good step that the NFL is taking. It certainly didn't seem to impact the level of attraction of last week's games. And while many of the players said they pulled up or it changed them in the way that they hit people, most markedly James Harrison of the Steelers playing last week in their victory against the Dolphins, I think in the long run the game will not be the worse for it, and the players will certainly be the better for it. And I'm fully in favor of enforcing this rule more stringently.
And Jim, again, I said that was my last question, but I just thought of one more. What are the updates to Pierre Thomas and Reggie Bush?
As recently as yesterday, neither was taking any part in practice, and I'd be very surprised if either of them play this week. Probably the player that might have the most opportunity to come back might be Pierre. While Reggie says he wants to come back, he really hasn't done anything on the football field to our knowledge. The Saints next week will play in Carolina and then have their bye week. It'd be my guess that if Reggie were to return, it would be after the bye week, but that's only a guess on my part.
Jim Henderson joining us here on WGS-TV. Jim, thank you very much.
Really my pleasure. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a special interview with the New Orleans Saints play-by-play analyst, Jim Henderson.